Sure.
So, I guess I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Sydney. I'm I work with Aware Foundation on web content on the web blog called the Open Sketchbook, and so does Mia,
Okay.
also
And yeah.
here. And Kobe's here. He's our executive director.
Hi, Kobe.
Hey.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for pushing it back a week and then a little more time too. So
Totally no problem.
thank you.
I have a really hectic schedule too. So, all right. I'm gonna pull up the questions here.
Can I give you guys a heads up in advance that I have a very loud puppy that sometimes barks?
Okay.
So if you hear him, I gave him a bone to try to keep him quiet, but I just want to let you know. So you might hear it, but hopefully not.
All right. So it's so nice to meet you. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with us. So just going off of the questions here, could you start just by introducing yourself, your profession, and your Instagram account where you do some really amazing advocacy?
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Sure. So I'm Tava Johnstone. I am a social worker. I have a master's in social work, an MSW. I'm also a child therapist. And do you want me to just go right on into the Instagram?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I do a lot of advocacy work for NASW, my professional association, National Association of Social Workers. I'm on one of the committees for children. And many months back, I guess early spring, I decided, we should really have an Autism Acceptance Month kind of campaign on our private forum. We have like a forum for 100,000 members all over the country, and it's private. So it's kind of like LinkedIn, but it's just for social workers. And so we chat about social work topics. So I got together a team and we hosted a pretty cool Autism Acceptance Month campaign all of April of this year. And then when it ended, I felt like I still felt this drive to keep it going. And I knew I couldn't continue to bombard my colleagues with posts, numerous posts every single day. So I'm like, I might as well move this to social media. I had kind of like an allergy to social media for a while. I took many years off, but when I felt comfortable going back, I knew that it wasn't going to be for personal use. It was going to be for like professional advocacy. So, the name came Neurocurious Therapist. In the advocacy campaign that I had in April, myself and some of my team, we were kind of thinking of how we wanted to identify, our own selves on the forum. And a few of us are still exploring our own neurodivergence. And so it just kind of came to me. I played with the word and I'm like, oh, I think I'm neurocurious about my own self. And then as a therapist, we really value like staying curious. And so I thought it was a really good fit. So that's how Neurocurious came to be, Neurocurious Therapist.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it just kind of exploded overnight.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah, we are such big fans of your Instagram account.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and we really wanted to know like what led you to be involved in the mental health field and social work in general.
Okay. Let's see. I was a hairdresser in my former life. Yeah, I was a hairdresser, and you probably know that like clients talk to you like you're their therapist.
Yeah.
So, do you guys hear my dog? Sorry about that. I think
Yeah.
he's go
It's
out.
okay.
Do you mind if I take a quick pause and let him out the back door?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Just super quick. I'm sorry. One sec.
No problem.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So I was a hairdresser in my previous career, and I felt like a therapist. And I was pretty good at listening, and people just wanted to tell me everything like the minute they sat in my chair. And so we had a little bit of a dip in the economy back in like 2009 or so. And things weren't so fun anymore. Like things really slowed down. So I decided to go to grad school because that's what people do when they like want to change their life. Um, and I pursued social work because my mom was a social worker. I knew I wanted to be a therapist, and I was going to go a slightly different route to be a therapist, but I decided to go the social worker route because it gives you a few more options in case you don't want to end up doing therapy.
Yeah, it's a really versatile profession. Yeah,
Definitely.
I've been looking at like, you know, sort of career directions for myself, and you know, I definitely looked at that and I was like, yeah, that's really cool. Like even not like for me personally, it's just
Yeah.
it's a really admirable line of work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been really rewarding, and I love that I can do so many different things with it. Yeah.
All right. So to piggyback off of that, I want to ask, what began your interest in autism and neurodiversity? Did it develop concurrently with your interest in, you know, mental health and being a social worker, or was it more of a separate development?
It was definitely separate. I had no intention of working in the field of autism. We didn't learn like anything in school about autism in my MSW program. The only thing that I can remember learning is back then we were advised to say person with autism. That was considered respectful, that you're putting the person first and you're not, you know, thinking of them in a pathological way. So that was the intention behind us being taught that. But that's all I remember from school. Then one of my jobs, I was working with a school district with kids with learning differences, and I had a few autistic kids on my caseload. I was doing social and emotional counseling, and I had no training whatsoever. Like I knew nothing about autism, and I was having a really difficult time because I didn't know that like talk therapy wasn't appropriate. And so I decided to take an advanced course, and the course was titled High Functioning Autism. And then in the meantime, that started to just spill over into my professional work. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I was sort of drawn to your work because like as an autistic person, like as a woman being like I was diagnosed pretty late.
Were you? Yeah, that's so common, isn't it?
And it was rough.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, people who belong to certain marginalized groups that might not be referred to like developmental assessments, or, you know, they might not have access to that and are more likely to first or just only be referred to a mental health professional. There's more knowledge about autism and sort of neurodevelopmental psychology, I guess, in the mental health field. It really benefits everyone.
Yeah, definitely. We have a ways to go, but I think that we're moving in the right direction. I mean, there are many of us who are advocating and sharing the information with our colleagues and our professional organizations. And I think we're slowly moving in the right direction, but we have some work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely on that note, the way autism is talked about in mainstream fields of like medical, mental, and behavioral health is often hyper pathologized, and it's really filled with ableism. And you kind of touched on this earlier. What are kind of like the principles that you adhere to now and that you champion? Would you have wished that were talked about in your MSW program and would have helped others?
Yeah. You know, actually, the principles of my MSW program of the social work profession actually align very well with neurodiversity. So I'm thankful for that because it's like, it's a natural fit for me. I just look to my own code of ethics, and the ones that are standing out are self-determination. We place a very high value on self-determination. And so we know that autistic individuals are denied that value oftentimes. Autistic children in their therapies are absolutely denied that in most of the most common therapies. So self-determination is a huge one for me. I really, really believe that we can give kids a say in what happens to their own bodies. I mean, that's so basic. And then another one from my profession is social justice. Social workers are really big on social justice, and so it just aligns perfectly with disability rights and autistic rights, and you know, just working for the inclusion of marginalized people. So that's one from our profession. Just looking, and then cultural competence is a big one for us. So we try, it's impossible to know everything about everyone's culture, but we try to keep like a humility that we don't know everything. And we're trying to value more like people's lived experience rather than just scientific, like scholarly published research. We just updated our code of ethics to include that actually in our cultural competence piece. We've put in lived experience. So I'm like, this is so great because autistic adults have been talking about this for years, like, you know, listen to my lived experience, and now we have it in our own code of ethics. So that's pretty cool. And then we also have that we always strive to uphold the dignity and worth of our clients, and neurodiversity affirming practices uphold the dignity and worth of autistic people. So that for me was like, oh, hello, I'm where I'm supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but in my grad school program, we just didn't talk about autism. We just didn't talk about it.
Yeah. It's really, I think it gives me a lot of hope, like hearing you say that about how, you know, they're pushing these principles like in the training for therapists and professionals, and really like the only connection that wasn't made was like explicitly naming like autism and like applying that to developmental disabilities, neurodevelopmental disabilities, which really, which I think it would be like a pretty simple expansion to make. So
Yeah, I think so too.
that's really cool.
Too. There's actually, I don't know if you guys have heard of them, the Neurodiversity Collective. Have you guys heard of them? The Neurodiversity Therapist Collective?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you interviewed them?
No, but they're definitely on my list of like, you know, people I want to, you know, contact.
Yeah, I think they'd be really open. I took a class from them, and they're a group of therapists. Interestingly enough, many of them are BCBAs from APA. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like an interesting pivot that they're doing, but they are teaching courses on how to be a more neurodiversity affirming therapist.
Oh, that's
And
really cool.
yeah, they're doing really great things. So, and it's interesting because as a mental health therapist, we can come from many different disciplines. So we can come from psychology, social work, counseling. And so we all have BCBAs have a different code of ethics, and they just updated theirs as well, which is interesting. I feel like they borrowed a few things from our code of ethics because they were getting such pushback on their ethics. You know, their ethics said nothing about the client and the client's well-being, nothing.
Yeah.
And so, but they're updated now. But so anyway, so we all have a different code of ethics. I, of course, think the social work code of ethics are the most aligned with neurodiversity affirming practices. But my field also is very much married to a medical model of mental health.
Yeah.
So that can put us in a difficult position, especially if we're billing insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything is so behavioral. They want us to measure, you know, behaviors and symptom reductions. And it's so easy for a therapist to then fall into more like behavioral practices, particularly with kids. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next question was, you know, in your Instagram bio, you have a credential that's called Certified Autism Informed Professional.
Mm-hmm.
Was that basically the course that was called High Functioning Autism that you took?
No.
Different. Okay, so
It was
could you?
different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could you talk about that?
Absolutely. So the Certified Autism Informed Professional was it was equivalent to maybe like 16 hours of, actually it was a little more because they made us do extra stuff too, maybe like 20 hours of courses through a company called PESI, PESI, and they're like a distributor for mental health continuing education that we all have to take. So they hosted this 2-day certification program. And then over the period of a couple more days, we had to watch courses on our own time. But there were maybe 10 different instructors, and it was good. I thought it could have been more neurodiversity affirming. And I gave them some feedback on that. They had one autistic instructor out of 10 plus. Who happened to be a social worker, and Temple Grandin did the opening talk. And the other presenters were from many disciplines. So OT, speech, psychology, trauma, mental health. And yeah, so it was like a 2 to 3 day event of courses in depth, and then after everyone we had to take an exam, and then we had to send in our licensing information, and then they sent us the certificate. So it's new, and I knew that I didn't like need it. I will say that I didn't learn a whole lot that I didn't already know, but I wanted it as a credential to like market myself so people could see that it's something that I offer.
Yeah, like even if, you know, sometimes with the way that, like, I don't know, there's a whole lot of very medicalized and pathologizing stuff out there about autism.
Yeah.
And like, even if it's not great, I can totally see how you would just like want to do that just to have it as like a way to give yourself credibility.
Yeah, exactly. Give yourself credibility. and allow yourself to be found, you know,
Yeah.
online or by parent. Like I only see kids in my practice for psychotherapy. I only see kids. So parents are the ones finding me. So I wanted to be able to be found by parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just have that extra credibility. And it looked really, I mean, the course outline looked really interesting. Have you guys heard of Stephen Porges? He's a researcher.
I haven't.
Have you, Kobe?
I'm not sure. The name kind of rings a bell.
Yeah, he's really big in the field of trauma and self-regulation, which we all know is huge in autism. Um, self-regulation is a big piece. And so Stephen Porges was one of the instructors. And he has a really interesting intervention that I want to learn more about, that it's called safe and sound listening. And it's like an auditory program that helps your brain improve at self-regulation. Like, yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, super interesting. Drew from many different disciplines. But I would say that my go-to person who I learn from in the mental health field on autism topics is Judy Indow. Do you guys know her?
I've definitely seen her name around, but I don't recall like exactly what her.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, she's an amazing one. She's autistic.
Okay.
So she's an autistic licensed clinical social worker. She's also a therapist, a consultant, an author. Her website is, oh my goodness, a library of information for parents, clinicians, anyone interested in autism. And so she's starting to teach courses, and that's what I'm super excited about. So I've taken one of her courses, and she's in the process of opening another certification program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I want to take that because she's autistic, and so and she has a neurodiversity affirming framework. Yeah. So she's amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us into our next question. Do you personally know or work with a lot of other mental health professionals that are explicitly neurodiversity affirming? And if not, what challenges have you faced in regards to that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know or work with many neurodiversity affirming clinicians or other professionals. I have one social work colleague who we have a friendly relationship, but she's in a different city in California. And she's currently working as a consultant. And so we sometimes consult with each other. And then I've met a few on Instagram, but sadly, that is all. And so how it's been for me is lonely. It's been lonely. Yeah. And sorry, can you guys hear my dog? Can you hear him?
Yeah, it's okay.
I can, if you let me bring him in, he'll stop barking. Are you okay with that? A quick pause?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
okay.
fine.
I'm sorry, one sec.
It's okay.
Okay, I hope you guys know how to edit. So it's been kind of lonely because as a professional, we come across some challenging material, challenging concepts, and it's good to have peers that we can call and consult with who have a similar framework, because they're going to give you advice based on their own philosophy. So it's been a little lonely, but Instagram has been awesome because I've been meeting other clinicians in mental health. I've been meeting speech therapists, OTs. I haven't nurtured the relationships yet, but I know that they're out there. So that feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, social media it's just really powerful with regards to that. And also, I mean, that sort of got me thinking about the Therapist Neurodiversity Collective.
Yeah.
They launched a directory, but I believe it's just speech, OT, and physical therapy. But
Okay.
like, well, what if you include like
Yeah.
professionals? Because that's like,
Yeah. You know, I think that they are opening up to mental health professionals. I think that they are.
yeah,
Neurodiversity Therapist Collective, or maybe I'm getting the words jumbled, but I think they're opening up to mental health professionals because I have it on my to-do list that I want to list with them. And then there's another directory called inclusivetherapist.com. Have you guys heard of them?
I haven't.
Yeah, it's called inclusivetherapist.com, and it's for all types of marginalized communities. And they explicitly name neurodiversity. And so
Okay.
therapists can go on and check that box, and then clients can find us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So just as like a general wrap up to this, what do you think the future holds for neurodiversity affirming mental health care, and what positive changes have you seen in the mental health field with regards to autism acceptance?
Okay. I think that what the future holds is we are going to start identifying and diagnosing more girls and women. So that's really exciting. I think it'll probably start with more girls, children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not going to only see these little girls as only gifted, because they often get identified as like gifted. Oh, she's that way because she's gifted. Yeah. 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 That's common. And then it'll be, oh, she's that way because she's anxious. She has anxiety, or she has selective mutism, or she has oppositional defiance disorder. Oh gosh, now he has a squeaky toy. I can't win with this puppy. So yeah, we're gonna start identifying more girls. Oh my goodness.
It's okay.
Let me, should I change his toy? Are you guys able to edit?
Yeah, we can edit, right?
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me change his toy. That's obnoxious. 1 sec.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna start identifying more little girls, which is exciting. I think we're gonna start identifying more children of color. I know that there's a big push for children of color to get more autism services, but what I've noticed so far is that those services are very limited to just one type of behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a tough one, which advocacy needs to be done around getting the government and insurance companies to pay for other types of therapy.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think the future will also hold that we will have coverage for services other than just ABA. The modality that I'm certified in, DIR floor time, we in California have advocacy going to try to get our California legislators to cover floor time. For short, we call it floor time. And they want to see all kinds of evidence, research, because it has to be evidence-based. The mental health field loves that phrase, evidence-based. So, but thankfully, floor time does have evidence that it's beneficial. So I think we'll see that. Yeah. And I guess it's just good that people are starting to like know what neurodiversity means and learning what it means to be affirming. You know, there are therapists all over Instagram talking about it from different disciplines. My worry though is that like the term is going to be co-opted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's going to end up meaning nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always I don't know. I've seen on Instagram and I've seen on places on the internet where like I'm not trying to like generalize all of ABA or like BCBAs, but when I see like BCBAs using the language of neurodiversity and then like, and I'm like, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. When I first saw it, it didn't land well with me. Because we know that traditionally their practices are not affirming in that kind of way.
Yeah.
Traditionally. Now, I don't know, I'm not observing everyone's sessions, and I know that there is a branch, there is a small movement that I think is gaining momentum with BCBAs where they are trying to be more affirming and change some things about their practices. And I mean, they updated their code of ethics. There's someone on Instagram called the Bilingual BCBA.
Yeah.
Do you follow her?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah, I just started following her, so I don't know much about her, but I know that she's starting a movement called Reformed ABA. So she's literally putting an R before ABA, and she identifies as neurodivergent. I'm not sure if she identifies as autistic. I can't remember. But so, you know, we're seeing small fractions.
Yeah.
But I do worry about the terms being co-opted and then them meaning nothing.
Yeah.
You know, as just a marketing strategy.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I could talk all day about like ABA and sort of just like this the overall ABA industry is kind of it's really dubious. And of course there are some people who are probably great people and like who are affirming and don't push sort of the hyper pathologization, but then like it just has like the stain of like the legacy of the industry.
Yeah, agreed. Like for some people, when they see those three letters together in that order, like just seeing them can be triggering.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you can reform all you want, but like, what about your legacy, But at the same time, I want to give people modalities and organizations space to grow and evolve, because my social work profession doesn't have the best history either. Like, we don't have the best legacy. We have done some harmful things in the past, but we are always growing and looking in the mirror and revising our practices and things like that. So part of me is like, oh, well, maybe they're trying to do that, but the type of therapy is so stained by their legacy, and it's not that long ago that these things were happening with Lovaas and stuff. So it's tough. But another thing I want to say about ABA is that I understand parents having like zero other options.
Yes.
Yeah, because that is really reality.
It's what they call a hard problem. Because
Yeah.
like on the one hand, there's like basically universal insurance coverage for ABA. And, you know, a lot of things that are called ABA aren't really like on the ground level, really using ABA principles that intensely.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, I've, you know, seen parents on social media and like other people talking about how like a lot of people use their insurance funded 40 hours a week of ABA as childcare for their very young children.
Yeah.
If they, if their children aren't if like preschools and there's no preschool or daycare that's suitable for their child.
Yeah. Yeah. I've read that too.
It's a huge issue.
Yeah.
It's really complicated.
It's really complicated. And that's another reason why I am very grateful for my profession and my code of ethics, is because we put a big emphasis on a person in their environment. And so we recognize that people are part of numerous systems and that guides their behavior. And so if you look at something from a purely psychological system, you could think, oh, why doesn't the parent make the right choice for their child? But then when we start to look at the broader systems, the system of their health care, the system of childcare, maybe their family system, we start to see the different factors that influence their choice to use ABA.
Yeah.
And so, you know, choice is really in quotes because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
And I do have training in maternal mental health, and I know what it's like to be a mom of an autistic child. And they need support. They really do. And so to have someone come into your house for 40 hours a week, if that person is like nice and truly playing with your child and not engaged in like problematic behavioral practices, I could see how appealing that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, when a parent has somebody entertaining their child, they get to rest, you know, and that can be the difference between severe depression or like, okay, I'm doing okay for a parent. Yeah. Yeah. So one positive thing that I thought of that I've heard that ABA practitioners are doing is they're starting to implement more play therapy techniques. So I mean that's positive.
Yeah.
But the way that they're using it, I don't really like. They're using it as like play as a reward, whereas in the kind of therapy I do, play is the therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So baby steps, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That was. All right. And just as like a final closing sort of thing, what advice would you give to other therapists who want to implement neurodiversity affirming principles in their practice? And I know you talked about a lot of the resources that you use, but maybe just like a place to start.
Yeah, a place to start. I would start on Judy Indow's website, judyindow.com. I would start there. Her website is full of resources. And I mean, she has them perfectly categorized: mental health, self-regulation, social skills. So I would start there as a therapist. I would also, I would take the course, if they offer it again, from Neurodiversity Therapist Collective. They specifically provided resources in that course on how to make your practice more affirming. I mean, everything from what to have or not have in the waiting room to how to conduct your session. So super cool. And then I would, of course, read the accounts that are plentiful online from autistic adults. read about their experiences, and you know, let those stories sit with you for a while and reflect on your own practices, reflect on your own biases, on your own trainings, and question and realize that sometimes we have to unlearn certain things. Yeah, so I think just being open to unlearning, and being open to not only hearing the perspectives of other professionals. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This has been really great talking with you.
You too. Thank
We got into some really, I think some really potent stuff with regards to advocacy and like just trying to get, you know, neurodiversity principles into the medical system, into, you know, like providing choice for, you know, different modalities of therapy, which is stuff I'm all very personally interested in. So that was really great to hear your perspective. Thanks for sitting down with us. This has been really nice.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you guys for reaching out to me on Instagram. I'm honored. And it's been great sitting down with you too. I feel like I'm really eager to know more about each of you, but maybe another time. Yeah, and you know where to find me if you ever want to chat again. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you.
And I'm so envious of your plants, Kobe. You have
I was gonna say the same about you.
Major plant envy right now. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, take care. Thank you again.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.